£300 million for Newcastle United Football Club is an absolute steal. That's how little Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, or PIF for short, paid to buy an iconic football club. A club steeped in rich history with one of the most passionate fan bases in world football. And so now I think it's time to be honest about Newcastle United. Why is no one talking about the fact that this giant of the North is clearly waking up? It's on the rise, and that could spell massive trouble for the rest of the Premier League. PIF's deal for Newcastle will likely turn out to be one of the best deals football has ever seen. For comparison, Chelsea cost a staggering $4.25 billion. That's 14 times the cost of Newcastle. But what truly matters is not the price, but how this deal has transformed the club. The acquisition was a game-changing moment that shifted the club's trajectory, turning the Magpies from perennial underachievers into genuine contenders for trophies. This has been clearly shown in their results on the pitch. But let's dive into some of the numbers that showcase that Newcastle is definitely a club on the rise. Let's talk numbers. Newcastle has now won their last 6 games in all competitions, which includes 5 straight in the Premier League. They've netted 18 goals in that time, which, if my maths is mathsing, is 3 goals per game. They've conceded just 2 and sit 5th in the Premier League. That level of performance is not luck. It's the result of a masterful plan being executed to perfection. Their latest win, a 2-1 victory against Tottenham, perfectly exemplifies everything Newcastle is quickly becoming. Fearless, resilient, and increasingly unstoppable. But we'll circle back to that match a bit later. First, let's discuss the man at the helm, Newcastle's visionary leader, Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe's tactical brilliance has been the driving force behind Newcastle's awakening, blending meticulous preparation with a philosophy of freedom within a structure. His systems mesh disciplined organisation with fluid player movements, creating a team that can bend but hardly ever breaks. This season, Howe's decision to reposition Sandro Tonali as the 6 while granting Guimarães the freedom to roam higher has transformed their midfield into a dynamic, pulsating heart. Players like Joelinton and Murphy have been reborn under his guidance, and the future looks promising. Howe's tactical innovations, whether it's pressing traps that smother opposition or the skillful exploitation of half spaces, has turned this team into a nightmare for rivals to play against. In a nutshell, no one looks forward to playing Newcastle United, home or away. But to understand more clearly what's making them so hard to stop, we need to take a closer look at the individual pieces making up this brilliant team. A key part of Newcastle's resurgence lies in their defensive foundation. And while Dan Burn and Fabian Schär have been excellent, Sven Botman is a total level raiser, and we're going to discuss him more in a bit. But first, we need to talk about Lewis and Tino. Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento are without question the most exciting young fullbacks in English football. Hall has been a revelation this season, solidifying the left side with a maturity well beyond his years. His growing ability to neutralize top-tier wingers is just top-notch. Don't believe me? Ask Bukayo Saka, whom Hall kept quiet in Newcastle's 1-0 win over Arsenal earlier this season. Or you can ask Timo Werner, who barely had a sniff against him in the Magpies' win over Spurs. Hall's overlapping runs and defensive sharpness were on full display, and honestly, he is a joy to watch. Livramento, on the other hand, combines pace and athleticism with versatility and intelligence. He's been primarily playing as a right-back, but he's also just as capable on the left or even higher up the pitch. Against Tottenham, he was rock solid, nullifying Spurs' wingers and repeatedly breaking up their attacks. With Hall at just 20 years old and Livramento at 22, Newcastle are completely set at fullback for the foreseeable future. But the Newcastle midfield is really where this team is top draw. Joelinton's power and Bruno Guimarães' creativity set the tone, but it's Sandro Tonali's evolution that has truly transformed Newcastle's midfield into one of the most feared in the league. Sandro Tonali is a player who pretty much embodies Newcastle's transformation. Eddie Howe's tactical adjustments seems to have unlocked his full potential. Now operating deeper as a six, Tonali has shown that he can manage transitions effectively, break up play and cover extensive ground. His defensive work rate allows Bruno Guimarães to thrive higher up the pitch as a true number 8, pressing aggressively and orchestrating attacks. Against Tottenham, Tonali's performance was more than impressive. His reading of the game, his dual winning ability were crucial in keeping Spurs' second half charge at bay. His calm presence in the middle is key to their composure. With him at the 6, Newcastle's midfield is perfectly balanced. To sum it all up, Sandro Tonali is the definition of world classification. Yes, that's a real word. But all that control and balance wouldn't mean much without someone up front to stick the ball in the back of the net. Enter Alexander Isak. When Newcastle United acquired Alexander Isak in August 2022 for a club record 63 million, some questioned the wisdom of investing so heavily in a young forward with no Premier League experience. Fast forward to today and Isak has completely silenced those skeptics, establishing himself as the Premier League's most complete striker. Isak's latest goal, the winner against Spurs, was a great example of his versatility. He was positioned perfectly. He was the right man in the right place at the right time. Again, he now has 13 goals for the season, 12 in his last 12, and he has scored in 7 consecutive games. Beyond his goal scoring, Isak's game is a study in modern forward play. He can drop deep, he can link the play, he can drift wide to stretch the back line, or he can just straight up beat people with pace and skill. He's every defender's worst nightmare. Comparisons to Thierry Henry may seem bold, but the parallels are clear to see. Speed, precision, and elegance in front of goal. At 25 years of age, Isak's best years are right ahead of him. And under Eddie Howe's guidance, he could be the centerpiece in Newcastle's push for major honours. No striker succeeds alone though, and Anthony Gordon has very impressively become the lightning to Isak's thunder. Anthony Gordon often proves himself to be Newcastle's main talisman when it matters the most. A fearless player with undeniable swagger, he thrives under pressure, relishing the biggest games. Take a look at his stunning record against the Big Six. He has 16 direct goal involvements in just 18 appearances, 10 goals and 6 assists. This displays his status as a true big game player. Against Tottenham, his relentless pressing forced errors and his early goal set the tone for Newcastle's dominance. It's not just his pace, his work rate, his intelligence in exploiting defenders' weaknesses and delivering when it counts makes him Eddie Howe's most versatile and reliable weapon. But let's swing back to the back line, because Newcastle's strong defense is about to get a whole lot stronger. Why? Because Sven Botman, that's why. Newcastle's defense has been one of their quiet strengths this campaign. Dan Burn and Fabian Schär have both been beyond brilliant, but the return of Sven Botman is a massive boost for the Magpies. He returned from injury, making his first appearance since March of 2024, and he delivered a performance that reminded everyone why he is so highly regarded. He was composed, he was dominant in the air. As he gets more and more match fit, his presence will be vital for Newcastle's aspirations. A once very strong defensive unit could become a near impenetrable one. Newcastle's rise is feeling meteoric, but even meteors face resistance. Which brings us to the financial challenges that they're having to tackle to keep their momentum going. Here's where it gets tricky. Newcastle United's elevation under PIF ownership has been matched only by their struggles with financial red tape. And it's all thanks to the super irritating profit and sustainability rules. Despite Newcastle doing an excellent job in increasing their revenue streams from 180 million in 2021-22 to over 300 million in 2023-24, the club's spending still has to be carefully planned so as not to breach the rules. Eddie Howe has certainly not hidden his frustration of it. He described the rules as not right after Newcastle were forced to sell young talents Elliot Anderson and Yankuba Minter, and Newcastle fans are just as upset. Their owners are 57 times richer than Man City's, and yet they can't spend it freely. Let that sink in for a moment. 57 times richer, but you can't buy any players without having to sell. Yeah, That sucks. Be that as it may though, when you can't spend freely, strategy and sporting direction become essential. So can Newcastle's newly appointed sporting director uncover some special gems to even the playing field? At the heart of Newcastle's transfer strategy is sporting director Paul Mitchell, whose job is absolutely pivotal. Appointed in July 2024 after Dan Ashworth's departure to Manchester United, Mitchell's extensive experience in scouting and recruitment make him the ideal candidate to refine Newcastle's approach. Mitchell's task is to unearth hidden talent, players who can transform the squad without breaking the bank. Mitchell finding hidden gems could make all the difference. At the time of making this video, it is January. The transfer window is open. So if Newcastle can do some smart business, it could ensure that they keep their run going and finish top 4. Newcastle's ultimate goal though has to be Silverware, with their last triumph coming way back in 1955. But this season, they have a real chance to end their long trophy drought. The Carabao Cup is within reach. Can they finally win it? 69 years without a trophy is way too long for a club of Newcastle's size. The absence of trophies is a glaring void, and let's be honest, their incredible fan base deserves to taste success. This season's Carabao Cup presents a golden chance for them to end that drought. Lifting the Carabao Cup would mean so much for both the club and the city. It would be a psychological breakthrough for both players and fans alike. PIF's ownership vision would be validated and in full swing, setting the stage for future successes. That being said though, Newcastle's ambitions go beyond just domestic success. Champions League qualification for them this season would be an absolute game changer. The financial boost would be huge, and the global spotlight would be even bigger. That kind of stage would both attract top tier talents and give players like Guimarães, Tonali, Gordon and Isak the chance to truly shine. St James's Park would become the place for the most electric European nights, solidifying their place as one of the Premier League's powerhouses. What we're watching is a full-on Newcastle United revolution. From the terraces of St James's Park to the hearts of Geordies everywhere. The Magpies are climbing higher than they ever have in recent decades. This sleeping giant has awoken, and Newcastle have decided they're not knocking on the door of success. They're kicking it wide open. The Premier League has been put on notice. Newcastle United look poised to usher in a golden era, adorned in black and white stripes. Football bread.